Welcome to the 8 Billion Project, where we're on a mission to make an impact by discovering and sharing the purpose of every person on this planet. I'm your host, Lisa Florida. Enjoy today's episode. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the 8 Billion Podcast. I am your host, Lisa Florida, and today I've got a special guest. She is a holistic astrologer combining astrology with energy work through the lens of the nervous system, health, and education to help individuals awaken to possibilities within themselves. She helps people explore their stories and narratives and helps them mediate their fields of potential. And she helps them navigate a path of alignment between their inner and outer worlds. Welcome, Joli Knott, to the 8 Billion Podcast and, of course, to Season 5D. It is such an honor to have a reflection of everyone in my world, most especially the last 3 years of my spiritual journey. And Joli and I were just even having a conversation right before this. We're like, this should have been on the podcast. So we're going to do, we're going to cover all of that. But the one thing I wanted to let the audience know is I am big with the cosmos and astrology. So when I came across Joli's, bio, and she reached out for 8 billion, I was like, I've got to have her on. And so, Joli, would you let us know, how you got all started in this? One of the things I'd like to start my guests with is at least maybe a basis of their story of how they got to where their exact work is right now. So however you'd like to preface it or introduce it, then it's, the mic's all yours.
Thank you, Liza, and thank you so much for having me. I'm just so grateful that we connected and for all the amazing conversations we've had to date. But
and the ones we're going to continue to have.
And the ones that are going to come. Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. I'm a child of immigrants, and my father was a doctor until he retired some years ago. So, of course, if I could have followed in his footsteps, that would have made my family very happy. But as it turned out, I kind of went in different directions. So I was for a while in the corporate world. I was working marketing, advertising. Then I kind of switched gears and went, into the financial world, and was working, I was broking Eurodollars, I was broking yen swap options and all sorts. But it was when I stopped all that to start a family that I think my real spiritual journey began. I thought I would, get pregnant like that. And when it didn't happen, I had to kind of dig deep and figure out, what was my role in all of this. And so I changed a lot. But one of the things that I brought in was Reiki. And so I found that incredibly helpful, very healing. And in fact, it was something that really saved me when I, and I'm sorry, trigger warning, I guess.
You're fine.
I miscarried, and it was really quite traumatic for me because I was 40 and I was told, you're too old to have kids. And the Reiki really helped me navigate that time of sadness and grief. I thought it was the end of a dream. Yeah. And it really brought in this sense of self-compassion that I didn't know before then. So that was really helpful, and probably was a big reason why I did give birth to a beautiful baby girl the following year.
Oh. That is, now I'm going to cry. I'm only like 10 minutes into my podcast. Oh, but I think, and I know I hope you don't mind, Joli. I might interrupt with some questions along the way because I'm thinking that how would the Reiki practice actually help with that? Because people are going to probably ask, right?
100%. Yeah. I have to preface this with, coming from the corporate world, the financial world, I had my doubts about Reiki, but I thought it couldn't hurt. And Reiki is, for me, it's very much a spiritual practice. It's not connected to any one religion, but it's a practice that allows you to go deep within. And so what I found with Reiki was that it was a way of meditating, I guess you could say. I mean, I don't seem to do very well with meditation. I've done mantra meditation for a while. I've done a couple of other different types of meditation styles, but Reiki is one that I always keep coming back to. And it's something that I started learning in 2005. And it was basically a way of connecting to the energy, let's say, around me. It sounds a little bit like the Force from Star Wars, so I'm sorry for the weird analogy, but literally the energy that's all around me, and finding that energy within myself, and then kind of getting it so that there's a homeostasis. So if I've got too little energy, then the energy around me can boost me and fill me up. And if I have too much energy, then the energy around me can equalize, basically, and bring me to a place of calm, where I'm not over anything, overexcited or over emotional or whatever. It's kind of, I guess in that way you could say it's kind of related to the Tao, the middle way.
Yes.
How do we get to a place of calm centering? And I find that Reiki really helps with that.
No, that's absolutely, because that's how I started. A big part of my healing journey started with Reiki and energy healing. And she's my meditation coach. But when you're talking about like pranayama type meditation breathing, that was never my forte either. Mine was very creative, like astral projections. Like she had to like say, okay, imagine this, like a string that's, like plugged in from your root down to the core. Like I had to imagine it. But then when that started taking off and all of that energy, like, and I don't know if you want to explain what Reiki is. I'm assuming that maybe some people have at least the basis of what it is. It's like energy healing through hands. Right? It's the practice of like healing hands.
Yeah, I mean, and it's really interesting because it's something that actually is known in cultures throughout the world.
Right.
It just happens that this particular cultural kind of manifestation of it is what then came to the West. And there's a whole interesting story behind that. But Reiki actually translates from the Japanese Rei, which means kind of universal, or it can also mean spirit, and Ki, which means life force or energy. And so what we're actually doing with Reiki is we're trying to become a channel for this beautiful life force energy that is all around us.
Correct.
So it's kind of, I liken it often to being like a jumper cable. So when I'm working with clients, I'm the jumper cable, and I connect with them by either hovering my hands over their body or actually lightly touching them. And it's always the client's preference. But that then allows the energy to flow through me to the client. And again, do the same things that it does when I'm practicing in self-practice, and that is equalize the energy that's in the person in front of you. So whether that person is your client or yourself, that energy is finding all the nooks and crannies that need to be nourished or softened, and it's finding the places that are dry that need to be moistened, and it's finding all the places that are maybe a bit overrun. Let's clear that out. Oh, there's a little bit of a blockage here. Let's tidy that up. So it's just such a beautiful, gentle modality, and anyone can access it.
Anyone can access it, and anyone can do it. Yeah. It's really beautiful. For me, it was my gateway to healing. So I want to let the audience know there's so many different methodologies and modalities, and that's why we are presenting all of these guests this season.
And Jolly and I were just having that conversation, right? About there being so many different pathways to your spiritual awakening.
Yes.
Yeah. And I don't know, I mean, did you want to actually comment on that, Jolly? Or did you want?
Yeah, thank you. It's interesting because, again, if you had asked me about any of this when I was 25, I would have been like, yeah.
Okay. Exactly.
Whereas this has really been something that has unfolded for me over time.
Mm-hmm.
And and I've been adding layers as well. So in addition to the Reiki, after my daughter was born, I was on top of the world. But then I kind of came crashing down because it was kind of like, well, okay, I'm living the dream. I have the child that I've always wanted, but now what? And all my life, I've always felt like things kind of flowed from one thing to the next, but I was really, really feeling stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw a theta healer, and she was amazing. She kind of gave me some ideas of why I might be feeling stuck. But it wasn't until I went to an astrologer that I really got some, further clues about what was going on and what energies I could harness, what energies I could surf. And it was really amazing, so much so that, I then started getting astrology readings on, kind of a semi-regular basis. And it was the astrologer I saw in 2017 who said to me, "What are you doing? You've got all these beautiful gifts. Can you please start using them and helping people?" Yeah. And she really gave me the kick that I needed. Mm-hmm. So I started formally offering Reiki in 2018. Prior to that, I was really mainly working with family and friends and like the occasional client here and there. But in 2018, I started working at an integrated health clinic and saw the most amazing people and was witness to some of their most amazing journeys. And of course, every time I witnessed their journey, it, propelled my journey forward.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, I was just going to say, Jolly, and we're going to go back to astrology and then probably let the audience know what theta healing is. My life right now, filming and recording 8 Billion season 5 is a dream, because I was just like, at first I was like, okay, everyone, right? Because everyone's gonna, I knew everyone's eventually gonna wake up, but how do you pull them in? There were enough stories in the last 2 years to start showing people that they stopped maybe going down a career path and started following their purpose. Then Spirit was like, no, Lisa, you're going to hone this in, like really hone it in. Because I was telling people for a while, I was masking the fact that my mission was 5D, because I said, oh, it's too out there, people won't get it. You know what I mean? And they're like, no, you have to be very vocal about it. And so that started my journey last November. Then when I called out for these guests, they were like, you need to be specific. And I thought I was going to maybe get like 10, 15. I got 60 inquiries. And I'm telling you, and I cut it off at that. I could have probably had more. So I'm telling you guys, the universe will somehow slowly trickle it into your life, or in some cases create the experience for you to dive deeper. And that seems to be the case with everyone, and most especially you, Jolly, right? Like, okay, really quick, let's let the audience know what is a theta healer.
So theta healing is when so there's these different frequencies that we operate on, alpha frequency, beta, delta, and then theta frequency is meant to be one where it's kind of like this, how would you describe it? A calm, awakened state. It's kind of like a meditative state, basically. Yes. And when you have someone who's trained in that modality, the original woman who founded the modality, I believe she healed herself of quite a few different health crises through this theta healing. And the theta healer that I saw was able to kind of access areas that were obviously inside me, but that I couldn't see or sense or feel. And I mean, it sounds a little bit silly in retrospect, because she, was basically saying, look, everything will come and unfold. You need to be patient.
Mm-hmm.
So she wasn't really healing me of a physical pain, but there definitely was this kind of, I guess, a feeling of, well, anomie, like, what is my purpose? Where do I belong?
Yeah.
What's going on? Like, of course, I'm this mama to a beautiful little girl, but it was all of a sudden like, but there's more. But I don't know where do I go for that?
It's like that gnawing feeling that it's like a dull. It's like, I don't even want to use the word dull, and gnawing feeling like you can't shake it. It doesn't leave you. You have everything in the physical world, like a career, maybe the white picket fence house, the children, but it's just something pulling inside you that knows that there's more.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the best way. And I think Joli could say yes. And I wanted to add to that. I know a theta healer, and I've heard that sometimes theta healers can, depending on their gift, they could say something to you and it heals that. So I think that that's maybe where, without judging the situation, she came across like, let it unfold. Well, that's why I kind of went to you,
Yeah, exactly. I thought you were going to help me.
Make me feel better.
I mean, she was really lovely, and she certainly provided me with a lot of interesting things to reflect on and ponder. But it was the astrologer that really, really did it for me, because I said to her, she said to me, well, what is it that you want to do? And
the astrologer.
The astrologer.
Okay. Yeah, I'm super excited to talk about this part.
She said, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I want to, I thought I could maybe teach. My family thought that, by teaching, I could get the summer holidays, and that would be good. But she was just kind of like, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then I said, but I'm really interested in learning acupuncture. We were living in Japan at the time, and I really wanted to learn Japanese acupuncture. And I said, my dad was a doctor, so like maybe some kind of healing. And she went from this to this. She was just like, wait a minute. Yes, that's yes. Tell me more. And I said, but I can't get into acupuncture school because my Japanese isn't fluent enough. You had to pass like level 1, and I kept missing the pass mark by like a few points. And, and she just looked at me and went, there are more ways to heal than one.
Yes.
Put it out there to the universe, like buy books from Amazon, just, and so she really encouraged me with that. So that's when I decided to take my Reiki training even further. I started learning medical Qigong. I was interested in astrology, of course, but I just thought, that's like, I'm interested, but I'm not an astrologer.
I'm not going to be an astrologer. Yeah.
And so, when I started offering the Reiki in 2018, that was fantastic. But then when the pandemic hit in 2020 and I was no longer in the clinic, I cannot explain it, Liza. All of a sudden, I was consumed with astrology. And my astrologer at the time kept saying to me, what about astrology? What about astrology? And I was like, oh, no. That's not for me. I mean, I'm interested, but not to become an astrologer. Mm-hmm. And it was fascinating because that pandemic hit and I just was deep diving into courses and books and webinars and lectures and study groups. And I've been studying astrology since 1992, but, just for fun. And all of a sudden, it was like oh, wait a minute. No, I'm going to add this into my toolbox.
Yeah.
This is something that I can actually use to work with people, to connect to them with.
Yeah.
So that's just been an amazing journey over these last 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has been, right?
Yeah.
It's all the unfolding, and that's exactly what we were talking to, was why. What's incredible about all of this in 5D, there's going to be so many guests, and they're going to relate on so many different levels. Like, there's going to be something that someone gets, and they'll be like, okay, I love that part, like astrology. And then there are going to be people that don't want to go down that route. Here's what is incredible about this whole season and every season moving forward. The basis of all of this is love. No matter what different pathway you're always going to take, at the very core, when you've had a pretty good awakening, you know that our lives here are all about being love.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I agree. I agree.
We've just got to shed all the different layers. And I know that not everyone can reach that frequency right now. And I fully understand that. And that's why I was going to say that if you can't reach love yet, find kindness or compassion, or start with the little things in your life.
I agree with you completely, Liza. I mean, I think what can be so overwhelming sometimes with this concept of unity consciousness and that we're all one is, we're bombarded in our modern day life with, social media, 24/7 news, and, things that are happening. Some of it not really nice at all. And so it can be really hard sometimes, as you said, to access that kind of those high vibration kind of love and kindness and compassion. But I think, you hit the nail on the head. When we start small without putting extra pressure on ourselves, when we start with ourselves, like, how much am I beating myself up over something I said at work? Or how much am I, making my own life more difficult by saying I haven't achieved this or done that? Social media, unfortunately, does challenge us to look at other people's lives, and all we see are these rosy pictures, when, come on, everybody has ups and downs. That's what life is about. And so I think it's really important sometimes to really bring it back down to what is going on inside here.
Yes.
And also to have an element of surrender. And I think this is what we were both talking about earlier, or at least touching on, which is, you might have ideas of where you want to go, but universe and source will take you where you need to go.
Exactly. It's a process. And I just wanted to say that, though, Joli, that has been my life intensely for the last 2 weeks. For some reason, for maybe 6 weeks, and then of course, like, expanded version 2 years. But why I say that is, and I don't know if you want to go into this, there's so many different astrological aspects that are happening right now, and I just want to give a reference to the audience. Joli and I are taping this on March 30th. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. So it's gonna air anywhere from May all the way to August. So I just want to let you know that if you look back, maybe the astrological aspects, there's a big birthing canal of so many different energies that are happening right now. Mm-hmm. And so, especially those that I feel like have been, and I say this because it's just the collective energy of which I circulate through, a lot of people are also feeling these energetic shifts. And so with that, a big part of it is having to just surrender to what the situation is that's posed in front of you. Because what you don't understand is that, yes, you do have free will, but you are co-creating with the universe and all those around you. So the more you're in resistance, the harder it is for you to accept the situation you're in. As if you just surrender, you have a better base, a baseline emotion to understanding. Now, it's not always going to feel good when you surrender. But you have to also understand universe, God, source, whatever your belief system in the higher power, is always going to work for your highest good.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't feel like the scenario is, because you might not be able to look back until maybe 3-6 months and be like, oh, that's why that happened.
Or even 3-6 years,
Yeah,
right?
3-6 years. Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely that I think that saying that hindsight is 2020. You know, we can see so much more when we look back, and that's what can be really quite tricky about astrology, is that when you're going through it, when you're in the thick of it, again, you know, you're kind of like, oh my goodness, this is happening and that's happening and all this stuff is going on. Astrology does provide a framework. It's a language of symbols. And so we can take those symbols and extrapolate all sorts of interpretations that help us form a story or shape a story. But what that story actually means for you, for your family, for your community, for your, you know, the wider world, that's something that, as you said, often needs maybe a bit more time to truly understand and integrate.
Yeah, it does. This is also beautiful. That's why I want to let the audience know. I said it in the opening, but every one of my guests are a reflection of my journey. I've gone down there are people who have gone, some people have found it easy. Some people have, found one path and it's been one path for them. Other people have explored so many different modalities, especially when you're talking about healing. Some healing is very intense and some is a lot more denser energies to work with, and
Absolutely.
so that's why we have it all here, most especially with Joli today. So now, Joli, so let us know, like, what most of your practice right now, of course, is Reiki healing. Let us know what your practice is and what you and how the services that you offer.
Thanks, Liza. Yeah, it's something that, again, is still unfolding.
Right.
But I think the main premise behind what I do is that, one of the fundamental reasons we're here is for connection.
Yeah.
And, when we are working through our shadows or working through our blind spots or working through things that are, perhaps feeling traumatic or otherwise heavy or hard. These things happen in connection to something else or someone else. And so often the best way to unwind them is, again, in connection.
Yeah.
And, in my life, what I found is that, I need to really address things for me personally on multiple levels for that healing, that wholing, to make whole, to really stick, has to be on multiple levels. So I always look at not just the physical, but also the emotional, the mental, and the energetic or spiritual. And when we look at all four levels, that's when, you go from beyond breakthrough to transformation.
Correct.
Yeah, that's when something
Absolutely.
really beautiful can take place.
Oh, it is gorgeous.
Yeah.
I mean, it is.
Yeah.
And I know, it's depending on where you are with the audience, understand that we are all here to hold space for you because we've been down that road. It can, like I said, the level of programming or the wounds per se and the pain that you've gone through is all different kinds of levels. And it's not to, downplay one person's and say the one had more. It's like we're all in this journey of experiencing life for the beauty and unfolding. And if we all hold this space of just love and non-judgment, it allows you guys, the audience, wherever you are, to create that, to create this journey for yourself without judging the path that you have. And then once you do that, you also extend it to others. It's all connecting. And then we just keep raising the vibrational frequency.
Yeah, the ripple effect. It's real. It's absolutely real.
It's very real. Mm-hmm.
And you know, when you can do healing on yourself, that then does heal those around you. It can heal ancestral spirits behind you. It can heal future generations in front of you.
Jolly, did they say, is it 7 generations behind and 7 generations forward?
Yeah. And you know, I think that that's such a beautiful way of looking at life and looking at the you know, the beautiful world that we inhabit. You know, Mother Earth is beautiful.
Yeah.
It does make me cry when, you know, I see and hear and read some of the things that we do in the name of modern life. But Mother Earth is very strong. So at the end of the day, you know, she's always going to triumph. So
yeah, she is. She's why we're all here collectively to all do this together so we can heal her, because she's actually a living organism. I know that, right? Yeah. It is. Yeah. And we're all, the more that we connect and heal ourselves first. So your biggest responsibility is you.
Yes. And that was a revelation for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, growing up with a dad who was a doctor, my mom, you know, helped him in his practice. And we, you know, our dinner table conversations were always about, you know, he was a surgeon, so we would talk about kidneys and bladders and things. But, you know, I kind of grew up with this idea that you heal other people.
Yeah.
And really, at the end of the day, you heal yourself. And if in that process you are able to help others, well, that's icing on the cake.
Yeah.
Right. You know, my Reiki practice, my astrology practice started with me. They were for me. And in kind of pursuing them and honing my abilities to get to a point where I can help others is such a blessing.
Yeah.
But I started with me.
Yeah.
And I just think that is something that's really magical when that takes hold. When you find the thing that speaks to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's so beautiful, right? That's the whole thing. Everyone is like, another thing too is there's this whole thing like, how do I find my purpose? How do I find my purpose? Well, at the very core of everything, you know, what is presented to you this season is going to be a lot of guests who've decided to take a certain pathway, maybe even outside of the career path that they probably had the first half of their life, to follow something greater because they know it contributes to the greater whole. But if you are in that space of even just trying to figure out what your purpose is, really at a very base level, your purpose is to do the inner work for yourself so that you are being love or the highest frequency that you can be at the moment, and just let it unfold. There's no judgment. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. And as time unfolds and unravels for you, it becomes a beautiful, beautiful journey. And what you were saying though, Jolly, is a transformation.
Yeah.
That's when the butterfly emerges. And that's really where, and that's what I'm saying is when we've all kind of either experienced it or watched it happen, we know it's so priceless. It's not anything. It's not anything all the money in the world can buy because it's a freedom for you that sets you free from everything else.
Well, it is. I mean, you know, it's been an interesting couple of years in that I've had to learn how to walk this line between wanting to really kind of explore this kind of metaphysical, spiritual path, but also keeping one foot in the real world. You know, my daughter's a teenager. I've got to, you know, pay the bills. And so, you know, that those those concerns are real, that, you
They
know,
are.
and I think that, I know for a lot of people, it can be very, very frustrating to say, well, of course I want to do X, but how do I get from here and paying my rent to there?
Yeah.
You know, and that journey, that struggle is real. And I don't want to diminish anyone who is contemplating that. Like, yes, I do want to do something different, but I don't see a way out. And I think probably going back to what you were saying earlier, the first step is to allow yourself to be maybe a bit more open, rather than seeing this kind of binary black, white, yes, no. It's not, I don't have a choice. It's, okay, where is the choice?
Yeah.
What can I do differently? Even if it's, I'm going to spend an hour in the library every week reading up on my favorite subject. You know, you can start small and find people, ask people to mentor you, do exchanges. When I first started with the astrology, I was just basically doing exchanges with everybody I came across.
Yeah.
And, you know, that really built up my my confidence, you know, as well as my body of experience.
No, it really does.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even tell you guys too how me being in season 5 and having these guests, like I'm telling you, it's a dream. It's like a dream come true for me to be able to speak every recording to a human soul that gets it. And it was so, like, and that's what they tell you first when you start a podcast. Who's your ideal, like, where is your audience? And I was like, I don't know everyone, because everyone has to awaken. But then I started to realize, as they took me down that road, if you just trust with your spirit guides and the divine, they helped me narrow it down, because I listened too. Yes. It wasn't just my own conscious, like, ego and logical mind. I was like, okay, you guys tell me what to do. They're like, okay, you're going to have season 5D and you're going to be very specific. And I was like, okay, here we go.
100%. And just to describe what you're saying in astrological terms.
Yeah.
One of my astrology teachers talks about how, we look at the sun, and the sun in the chart can represent so many different things. But he talks about the sun as being the plot. It's the plot line of your story. Yeah. And then the moon, what does the moon describe? Well, of course, a lot of people say, oh, the moon is your mood, it's your emotions, it's your mother, it's, women in your life, it's the city, but the moon is the environment. It's the circumstances in which the plot line unfolds. Yeah. And so, and
in the tarot they say that moon is hidden, but doesn't always mean to be bad. It's just like, with its divine timing, things unravel for you.
Oh, and divine timing. I'm so glad you brought that up, Liza, because that is so important.
It is important.
So important. I think that, my daughter is a perfect example of this.
Mm-hmm.
I did get to a point where I thought, okay, this is not meant to be, but maybe, and it did happen. And I'm so happy that she came to me. She came to me and my husband, and she was born. But, there's what I've been learning is that divine timing is really a thing. Mm-hmm. And the hardest part of our journey is when we're in that liminal space between two worlds.
Yes.
Right? When we're at the doorway, when we're on the threshold, and there's old you behind.
Yep.
New you come, but you're not old you or new you yet. And that is the hardest place to be.
I know, it's actually making me cry. So if you're watching it, you can see, because I know that space. I know that space. I want to encourage anyone that is on that, keep going. That's where like empathically, I know, because I felt like that was my life. Like that liminal space was all of that in between, like not knowing. When you create that deeper connection with just understanding yourself, and you just keep surrendering, even if it feels scary, I'm telling you, the gifts you get from it are just so, like, there's no words to really describe it. Yeah, it's that. Sorry. I never know in this whole season when I'm gonna cry, but I'm telling you, that liminal space, because you want, and just to explain that, in the in the spirit world, there's no time. Right.
That's right. Yeah.
In our 3D world, as human beings, we've created time as a measurement to gauge certain, for measurement tool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in essence, on a deeper level, there is no time. Yet we feel like, but we do in this 3D body, in these vessels that we occupy, there is a time.
Yeah.
And so that, you feel like you are doing work. You feel like you're like, why am I always, why is this taking so long? Or is this really meant for me? And all this kind of stuff. And sometimes you lose hope. The thing to take into mind is that it's out there. The universe wouldn't have planted it for you if it wasn't for you. You just have to let go of how and when it's going to happen. And you'd be surprised at how fast you could collapse time when you do that.
There was my astrology teacher gave this beautiful example from his spiritual practice, where he said that, when we make the decision to, let's say, surrender, he said, if it's almost like if you think of a piece of cloth that is kind of like folded accordion style and bunched up, and you think about a needle with thread, and when you make that decision to, let's say, surrender to source, surrender to God, the universe, that, from the universe's point of view, that needle goes through all those layers all in one go, right? It's just, that's it. It's gone. It's gone through those, those accordion pleats. But for us, we're feeling it go through each layer one by one.
Yes.
Right? It's not instantaneous.
No, it's not.
But from that huge perspective, the needle goes through all at once. Mm-hmm. But from our perspective, it's literally little by little by little, right?
By little. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's why this season is so, like I said, I can't express it enough that this season is very special to me, my heart, and I'm pretty sure it is to all of you guys. As, like I said, it's not you guys supporting 8 billion, it's all of us being this one collective of love. And if we all can just all unite together, the forces become stronger. So then we can achieve. We will one day. We don't know if it's going to be in. I personally don't know if it's going to be in my lifetime where I actually see unity consciousness or oneness consciousness. But I know that the seeds that we plant are definitely going to be those that create the pathway for everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Joli, please. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I agree completely. I mean, it's just, it's such a beautiful vision to hold. And, part of our job as well is to hold it for people who, for whatever reason, can't feel it yet or aren't there yet, or, whatever it is. But it's a beautiful, beautiful vision.
And I think that's why, now that you say that, I think that's why I cried or I got a little emotional when you talked about the liminal space, because I know many people are there right now.
Yes. And I want to recognize that, because, it can be really scary and it can be really frustrating, and it can be really disheartening when you feel like you're doing everything that you possibly can, but there doesn't seem to be anything to show for it. And part of the problem, I think, is that because we live in this, 3D world where everything is material, right? So we're meant to see things happen materially instantly, because that's kind of the world we live in right now.
Yeah.
But in fact, it's almost saying, can you hearken back to a different space-time, a different way of thinking, where these internal changes are happening, and you may not see it reflected materially right away, but like you said, have that trust, have that faith in yourself. You're here for a reason. You're a puzzle part. I think we were talking about this before, which is one of my, it's a template I've been working on to help me understand life. And that is that we're all puzzle pieces.
Yeah.
So none of us are special, but we're each unique.
Absolutely.
Right? We are unique puzzle pieces that are absolutely necessary to complete the big picture.
The big picture.
And, when you meet someone that maybe you don't vibe with or gel with, and you're thinking, but wait a minute, how can I be unity, consciousness, and love if this person is just irritating the heck out of me?
Yeah.
And the way I look at it is, if that's how you've got puzzle pieces, right? And normally you'll have the puzzle piece that slots in with another puzzle piece. Well, sometimes you'll meet another puzzle piece and there's nothing to slot, it's just not going to work. Yeah. And that's because, from my perspective, you're from two different parts of the puzzle.
Yeah.
So don't get frustrated. Don't give up. I know that's easier said than done, but it's kind of recognizing that there is a place for you. There is a tribe for you. There are people who are going to benefit from your healing presence.
Yeah.
And even if it's not that person, that's okay.
Yeah. That's absolutely okay. It is, the whole journey is absolutely okay, whichever way you go. That's the beauty of it. That's what I was going to say. These conversations, Joli, can last forever, especially when I'm in this space with you.
I know.
However, we do have a time.
So, I can't believe it's been an hour already.
I know, that's what I was going to say. But, we will continue this, because I know that this, like I said to all of my guests, I was just like, I really just believe this is just the beginning of, like, for me, at least, another level of a soul family that I found. Like the universe said, you want a soul family? Here, we're going to give you soul family from around the world. And I was just like, what? Every interview has just been spectacular. It's been amazing. And this is just the beginning.
But that's the energy that you've been constellating, Liza, and I am forever grateful for it.
So thank you. That means so much, right? That means so much to me. That's why I'm all like crying when I know about the whole liminal space. We're going to be okay, guys. We're all in this together. But Joli, I'm sorry. Joli, I know that, there are going to definitely be some people in the audience that want to hear more about your work. What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Well, thank you. I have a website. It's called bodhimindful.com. So that's BODHIMINDFUL. So Bodhi Mindful, all one word, .com.
Okay.
I have an Instagram feed with the same name, at Bodhi Mindful, and a Facebook page that's also Bodhi Mindful. So yeah, hopefully
awesome.
On one of those.
So you hear that, audience? The way to get a hold of Joli Knott is Bodhi Mindful, and we'll have it in the show notes. Or if whatever platform you're viewing this on, it's always going to be there and link back to Joli's work. So, Joli, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for being a part of season 5D of 8 billion. You'll always have a voice on this platform. So thank you.
Thank you, Liza. I'm so excited to listen and watch everyone else's, all the other interviews that you're conducting. So.
Oh, thank you. It's my pleasure to bring this all to you guys. It's my gift. It's my service to the world. So thank you also to the audience who tuned in to this week's episode of 8 Billion Podcast. And I will see you on the next one.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of the 8 Billion Podcast. If it's moved you in any way, please share your thoughts or give us a review on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. To listen to more episodes, go to 8billionpodcast.com, or to learn more about our mission, go to 8billionproject.com.